Hey, how's it going everybody? It's Tanner here and welcome back to a new Ninjago video here on the channel. In today's video we are going to be talking about some of Ninjago's most evil villains and bad guys throughout the entirety of Ninjago's run. Now in terms of what this video is all about, basically this video will kind of be exploring Ninjago's most diabolical villains that the ninja have faced throughout Ninjago's run. Obviously we've seen several villains throughout the course of Ninjago's history, but some of them are a little bit more evil than others. Some of them went to the good side eventually or redeemed themselves in some way, while some of them pretty much stuck by evil's side until their demise. So that's pretty much what this list is going to be all about, the villains that pretty much stuck with evil all the way until the end. Now I will be doing another video later on talking about some of Ninjago's least evil villains, so in case you guys don't see a villain on this list that you like, chances are they might be on the list that I will do for a future video, that being the least evil villains list. The villains that I'm going to be highlighting in this video are some of Ninjago's most evil villains in my own opinion, and of course this list will not be in any particular order. This is not a ranking video by any means. This is just a list of a few villains throughout Ninjago's run that I feel like should be on this list, villains that kind of stuck with evil until the very end, and again these will just be a few of my favorites. This isn't every villain in Ninjago, so I will be doing an in-depth analysis focusing on every single villain that I kind of present in this video, so let's go ahead and get to it by talking about the Overlord. Now the Overlord is obviously Ninjago's true antagonist. He's basically the complete opposite of the first Spinjitzu Master's Light. The Overlord was introduced in Season 2 of Ninjago as kind of like the main villain of the final battle arc, if you will. He was kind of helping out Garmadon because of course Garmadon wasn't purely evil at that point, and the Overlord was kind of just, I guess, pulling the strings behind the scenes. Of course, when Garmadon, I guess, blew his cover completely, the Overlord pretty much possessed Garmadon, took over his body, and took the spot of the Dark Lord for himself. So that's pretty much as evil as you can get. The Overlord did make an appearance in Season 3 as well, after being defeated by Lloyd the first time, and he was kind of ruler of the Ninjroids, if you will. He kind of created a digital world throughout Ninjago, and it was kind of his own home at that point. He eventually came back later on in the end of the season and was defeated by Zane. We have not seen him since, but there was no point of the Overlord, I guess, going to the good side before his defeat. He was always just going to stick with evil, which is kind of obvious. I mean, the Overlord is Ninjago's, I guess, true antagonist. As I said earlier, he is the darkness to the first Spinjitzu Master's light, so it would kind of make sense that the Overlord would not go down the path of good. It would be really weird to me seeing the Overlord, I guess, turn around and decide, you know what, I'm going to be good. No, the Overlord is basically the equivalent of eternal darkness, so that's why he's on the list. Pretty basic stuff. The Overlord is pretty much, I guess, the most obvious one that could be on this list. Next up, we're going to be talking about Navicon. Now, Navicon is an evil villain, but he's primarily out for revenge. During Season 6, his debut season, Navicon entered the realm of Ninjago, which was basically in ruins after the ninja defeated the Preeminent, otherwise known as the Cursed Realm. It kind of caused Ninjago to fall as well. Taking his father's blade, he decided to go back into Ninjago and try to recreate his home realm, while also taking out revenge on the ninja. Now, Navicon was an evil character. He absolutely was evil, but he was doing it for, I guess, his own good intention. And in my opinion, that's pretty much as, I guess, perfect of a villain as you can get. I always thought that the, I guess, ideal villain for anything, really, would be a villain that the audience could understand and get behind, and Navicon is pretty much just that. We understand his reasoning and we understand what he's doing and why he's doing it, but unfortunately for Navicon, it's still technically evil. Navicon never exactly went back to the good side during, I guess, his reign in Season 6. He was kind of defeated at the end of the season when Jay kind of reversed all of time throughout Ninjago and kind of erased the season altogether. There was never any point of Navicon actually, I guess, going back to the good side, if you will. He was always just going to be evil until the very end, so that's why he's kind of on this list. Navicon the Evil Djinn is a character that I hope will return in future Ninjago stories, but for the time being, he was actually a really good villain in Skybound, and I thought that he served his role as the main villain super well. Again, a villain that we can get behind is something that I can always appreciate from anything. I feel like that's how you write a villain super well, is by making them evil, but making their intentions, I guess, understandable. So that's why Navicon is on this list. Next up, we have the Omega, otherwise known as the leader of the Oni. In March of the Oni, the Omega and the rest of the Oni pretty much took over every single realm in an attempt to rule them all, and Ninjago was kind of on their list as well. The Omega is the main leader of the Oni, and while he doesn't really have much of a personality, it's very obvious that he is evil just because he's evil. And while that might be weak writing by default, I feel like the Omega overall stood his ground as a very evil character, because again, just like the Overlord, he's kind of the default evil. He's not really evil for a purpose, he's just evil because he is. So obviously there was no way that the Omega was going to turn good, as the Oni are pretty much just evil beings, with a few exceptions here and there. Mistake, for example, was an Oni that was good, but the Omega is definitely not like Mistake. The Omega is the leader leader of the Oni, and he will do whatever it takes to conquer all of the realms and basically get revenge on the first Spinjitzu master for whatever reason. So yeah, that's why the Omega is on this list. He is one of Ninjago's most evil villains. Never once, I guess, hesitating or maybe thinking, maybe I could be good. No, the Omega is just not that type of character. Next up, we have Master Chen. Now, I did want to mention Chen on this list because Chen is just crazy. He's not so much evil, I'd say, but he's absolutely a psychopath. Master Chen, throughout Season 4, was pretty much obsessed with the idea of turning him and his followers into anacondrae. So right away, kind of a big red flag there. This guy wants to turn everyone into snakes. Yeah, I'm not so sure about that. But while Master Chen is pretty much just crazy, he also does have a few evil tendencies to him, and he never once decided to go back on that before his unfortunate demise at the hands of Nia in Season 5 when she destroyed the Cursed Realm. Of course, Chen, throughout his role in Ninjago's history, played a lot of evil schemes on just pretty much everybody. He was responsible for the Serpentine War, he was responsible for putting elemental masters against each other, and throughout Season 4, he was basically responsible for the second Serpentine War, and of course more elemental masters fighting. So Master Chen pretty much is not to be trusted. He's kind of the middleman, if you will, kind of scheming and putting people against each other, and that's just not good. That's not a good thing to do. Master Chen is definitely evil by default, and overall I feel like his presence throughout Ninjago is still known. I mean, a lot of the same conflicts from the Serpentine War are left over to this day in Ninjago, so it's very obvious that Master Chen's actions have plagued Ninjago for some time. As mentioned earlier, he's no longer around. He was basically sentenced to the Cursed Realm after Season 4, and when Nia pretty much destroyed the Preeminent in Season 5, it was very clear that Master Chen and everyone else inside the Cursed Realm kind of perished as a result. So in terms of Chen returning, probably not likely, but Chen throughout Ninjago's run was a very evil villain, so that's why I decided to put him on the list. There was no chance that Chen was going to turn good. He was always just a bad guy scheming in the background, so he's on this list for that reason. Next up, we have the Preeminent, which is of course the physical embodiment of the Cursed Realm, which was previously mentioned in this video. Now the Preeminent itself, while it is, I guess, a solid, realm, it still is evil. The Cursed Realm is very much, cursed and very much evil. Basically, the Queen of the Ghost Army, the Preeminent, invaded Ninjago during Season 5 after Moro successfully opened the door for the Preeminent to enter, and while Moro himself might not have been purely evil, the Preeminent absolutely was. Again, the Preeminent is the single embodiment of the Cursed Realm, which is one of the most evil realms out there, and while the Preeminent is not really around today, it kind of made a few appearances after Season 5. It's definitely not around to this day, but the Preeminent in Season 5 was absolutely evil, and while it doesn't really have that much of a personality, I do want to mention it on this list because the Preeminent is super evil in that way. It's just the physical embodiment of evil, much like some other entries on this list, and just overall, while it might not have that much of a personality, you can still tell that it was pretty much evil just by default. So that's why I decided to mention the Preeminent on this video. And lastly on the list, the last villain that we're going to mention here is the Iron Baron. Now the Iron Baron is not a villain that I consider to be necessarily good. I consider him to be pretty poorly written in the show. He doesn't really have that many redeeming qualities, but it's to that nature that I finally decided to highlight him in this video because he doesn't have any redeeming qualities. He never really redeemed himself. The Iron Baron is responsible for many, many deaths of dragons in the Oni and Dragon realm, including that of the Ultra Dragon, and if that doesn't spell evil, I don't know what does. But not only did the Iron Baron have a very dark history within Ninjago before we actually saw him in the series, he had more dark stuff go on after his initial debut. Of course, he kind of, I guess, was led to the dragon armor, and without hesitation, he tried to put it on and control Firstborn. Obviously, Firstborn didn't really respond, but even after that, even after the Iron Baron was defeated, he still showed no signs of remorse or redemption. He was just kind of still evil, and he didn't really understand what he did wrong. The rest of the Dragon Hunters kind of, I guess, took a path that he didn't. The rest of the Dragon Hunters, led by Faith, actually went ahead and became allies to the ninja. The Iron Baron, no, he just decided to remain evil, and he's not going to show up as an ally to the ninja anytime soon. I'm really happy that the Iron Baron is kind of gone throughout Ninjago's history because he has a very dark past, and it's one of the most evil pasts of any villain in Ninjago. So I felt the need to include him on the list, basically for that reason alone, and the fact that he never really did redeem himself for his darker actions later on in the season. So that's why the Iron Baron is on this list, and that'll pretty much wrap it up for this video. So of course, if there was a villain that you kind of expected on this list that isn't on this list, I apologize. They are either on the least evil villains list, or they are basically just someone that I didn't feel the need to mention. These are the villains that I wanted to talk about in this video, and I genuinely feel like each of them are very evil villains to the core. So that's pretty much going to do it for this video here. Let me know down below in the comments section what you think of my video, and let me know which villain in Ninjago you think is the most evil, the most ruthless. You pretty much get the idea. So let me know down below in the comments, and I look forward to reading what you guys come up with. With all that being said, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all that fun stuff, and and check out the links down below in the description for my other forms of social media. As always, big shout out goes out to my Patreon supporters, including once again the marvelous Chen. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Once again, my name is TannerFishies, and with that I bid you farewell.